Hey guys, Gerald here. So today, so recently I reviewed I Frankenstein, and it got me thinking, who was my favorite Frankenstein in pretty much visual media? These are all based off of ones I've seen, and this is going to be my top 11 list. There is a 12th edition, but because it's not a visual media, at least I don't think it's been made into one. If it has, I have to find it and see it, but for my 12th fate, like my favorite renditions or concepts of Frankenstein, this is my top 11 list. Okay, also all opinion based. You don't have to get angry if a Frankenstein on here isn't one of your favorites. It's cool. Tell me about it in the comments. Maybe I just haven't seen it, but this is my list. This is a top 11, but for number 12, okay, because I just really felt like adding this one. It's from a book. It's called Dean Koontz's Frankenstein series. And I have to say, I enjoy this character to no end. This book series is actually rather interesting. I like the concept behind it. Is Deucalion. Deucalion. Yeah. It's really hard to say his name. Well, anyways, he's this basically... I don't know how to explain it. He's amazing. This is based on the monster, not Dr. Frankenstein. I could make a list of my favorite people who've ever played Dr. Frankenstein. But this guy, he's meta. He's like corroding and he has to have a tattoo to explain like his burnt up, destroyed face, and he's super strong, and apparently lightning gave him a soul. It's really an interesting concept. I always liked it. If you haven't read the book series, check it out. Definitely worth a read. You know, I'm not a huge Koontz fan. I mean, there's about like 2 works that I've actually truly enjoyed by him, which would be the Odd Thomas series, and even that, like the last one, Odd Apocalypse, was when I was like, where I draw the line in the sand. I mean, when you bring in aliens into a book series about ghosts, I just didn't like that. Like, you lose the mysticism of it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I can tolerate time travel and ghosts. That I could get behind. I mean, that was when he started to lose me. But then when he brought in an artificial intelligence and alien, I was like, nope, nope. I mean, I can believe a cop is smuggling nukes to sell. That I could believe, but you know, I call crap on that one. But sorry, I digress. That's from an entirely different series. Now, in my number 11 is more of a comedic Frankenstein, and that is Hotel Transylvania's Frankenstein. Now, and I'm not a huge Kevin Smith fan. You know, I'm not a huge fan of those, the guys, like the Sandler, Happy Madison guys. But, I kind of like this comedic version of him. He's just an uptight dad. He's funny. He's interesting. Like, there's not much character development, but he's kind of not bad. I liked him. He did a good job. But he's pretty low on the list because he's not anything spectacular. I just kind of like the idea of a comedic dad Frankenstein. Now, coming in at number 10, I have to say, is another one that I'm sure a lot of people didn't... I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but Van Helsing's Frankenstein. Mostly because he's an interesting character. Van Helsing in this movie is just kind of, I'm a ultimate badass. I hunt monsters and will slay the son of the devil. This movie was very over the blown, but the Frankenstein in it, I enjoyed the concept behind him because he was reasonable. He's just this giant brute, but he's definitely an interesting giant brute. And I thought that was kind of a good take on it. Now, this next one, I don't know if a lot of people have seen this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's called The Frankenstein Theory. I know somewhere I did a review of it. I don't know if I have it up. But, honestly, I think I like this one because you don't see the monster, really. Like, it's there, it exists, they build up to it, they're hunting, they just want to find proof of it. This guy's a descendant of Frankenstein, everyone thinks he's crazy. And he's not. He's actually rather interesting. And I thought it was a good take on it. You didn't see the monster. You didn't get to... It's definitely an interesting take on it. It's worth a watch. It's very Blair Witch Project-y, I guess, but it's not at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a documentary, but it's actually rather terrifying. Um, and personally, I think that in itself is why this movie just works. Now, this next one, I did just review it. I had to put it on the list. It's still pretty low on the list, is I, Frankenstein. Now, the reason I put this one kind of low on the list is it's not a great movie, but this Adam, who is the Frankenstein monster, he's interesting. Well, the last one from Frankenstein Theory was this force of nature. I don't know. I like how he works. He operates. He does shit. Like he most of the time the monster's trying to hide or trying to figure out stuff. They're very dull. He's cognitive, reasoning, and I thought that was interesting. Like to me that was wonderful. Then the next movie, Frankenstein Unbound. Talk about like an entire recreation of a monster. This thing looks like it comes out of your nightmare. This movie had time travel and I don't know. It had Tim Curry, John Hurt. This movie was really packed, and I just caught this movie on an off chance. Thought it was amazing. A lot of people aren't a huge fan of it, but I definitely like it. Like the whole concept of a time traveler accident scientist running in back in time, meeting Mary Shelley, finding this monster, and this monster is just this grotesque, disfigured thing, and I liked that concept. I don't know, just definitely worth a watch. One of my personal favorites. Frankenstein's Army for number 6. Oh boy, there isn't a single monster in this movie. There isn't, I don't know how to explain. This movie felt like it needed to be on this list because, the monsters of this movie are so creative and so out there. There's one that's got a freaking, plane front for it. You just have to see it. I can't explain it. This movie is very trippy. It's very ingenious. It's horrifyingly wonderful. I loved it. You gotta check it out. Definitely worth a watch. Check it out if you haven't. Young Frankenstein. Oh my. For the number 5th spot. Reason I like this one is it's actually really funny. I like this movie a lot. Tom Noonan plays a comedic Frankenstein. You don't really see that that often, and you haven't really seen it since. Young Frankenstein was a movie that I adore. It's funny. It's humorous. I can't explain it. It's just enjoyable. Tom Noonan's performance is beautiful. Check it out. Now this next one. Actually, I kind of think I should have switched those two around, but The Mod Squad. Again, oh no, wait. Peter Boyle. I'm sorry. Peter Boyle was Young Frankenstein. Tom Noonan was in The Mod Squad. Tom Noonan in this one. He's just like this lost puppy monster. I just love it. The Mod Squad is one of my favorite movies. It's a classic. You gotta check it out, and it's hilarious. I just love it, especially the way the little girl befriends Frankenstein. It's beautiful. It's charming. It's sweet. It's a kid-friendly movie, but with the movie monsters. Okay, this one, it's not actually a movie, but it's a TV series, and it's called Penny Dreadful. Now, this one is kind of a twofer, because there's two different, there's Proteus, who is the second creation of Dr. Frankenstein. Proteus, to me, is, the true new life. Proteus is, he's very very gentle. He's trying to figure out what to do for his life, and honestly, I think it's interesting because Proteus is in. Sorry, everything is new to him. He's just so It's so just bright colors and everything's new. That's why I like this character. Definitely interesting. Not then there's Caliban, who, God, have I never felt more sympathetic. But like, I love and hate this character. You love him and you hate him. Okay, Caliban kills Proteus, just rips him in half. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the show. And by God, Caliban and his justification isn't invalid, but his reasoning, his character, like, he drives me crazy because he was created so harshly. His life was basically born out of pure misery. His master shunned him. I don't know why. And basically, all he asks this Victor Frankenstein for is a mate. He wants to just have someone to be with. I love that concept. Good God, like, he's so isolated and he wants someone to be made like him, but he wants to have an eternal love. That I love. I don't know why. I just really, really like that. Now, this one is a horrifying movie. Personally, if you don't want to see, like, it is grotesque, it is disturbing, and it's wonderful. It's called Flesh for Frankenstein. I knew it as Flesh for Frankenstein. Everyone else knew it as Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. Personally, this movie terribly, like, it's Dr. Frankenstein fucks this zombie in the kidney, and just, there's incest, there's murder, there's decapitation, there's a Frankenstein. Good God, this movie is wonderfully insane. Like, Dr. Frankenstein's fucking his sister. Like, you just gotta see it, okay? I can't spoil any more from you. The ending, the twist ending, boom. Like, the fuck just happened? And, it's so wonderful. It's like, what? You just gotta see it. My number one favorite Frankenstein, this is pretty obvious, but Boris Karloff. By God, has anyone topped that performance? Personally, I don't think so. I think this is the milestone. You know, Mary Shelley's book is the starting point. Boris Karloff is that leap. Now, is this movie hokey and cheesy? Yes. But for the time, this was amazing. And from there, everything he did personally was everything he set the idea of Frankenstein. And that whole thing of what he looks like, the big forehead, the bolts, I feel that was done well. Just I don't know. I mean, and from that movie, we have so much more. I have the original on VHS. I would like to say that it's one of my favorite films of all time. It's also with Bela Lugosi as Dracula. I mean, we have Frankenstein and the Wolfman, friggin' Bride of Frankenstein. These are the iconic sets of those, and I don't know. I just still love this movie, and especially the fact that they had that one scene where you don't know if he killed that little girl. Like, he didn't really do it on purpose, but he didn't not do it on purpose. Like, he didn't understand, and that's what I feel is so wonderful. Is they make him this. He doesn't know any better. That's why he's wonderful to me. Like, he's just food good. Fire bad. Like, that's what makes it so interesting. Personally, Boris Karloff, whenever anyone conjures, like, says Frankenstein, the first thing I always think of is Boris Karloff's face. And that's it. I mean, I'm sure he's done other things, but, like, Boris Karloff is the Frankenstein in my head. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and the Wolfman and our Dracula. It's just all that wonderfulness. I mean, it has funny moments. It's charming. Everything from that. I enjoy it. So, yeah. Check it out. If you have never seen the original Frankenstein, it's definitely worth a watch. I mean, there's House of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein. Uh, yeah, Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein. Like, there's five movies total that I believe. There might be more. I'm not sure. Then there's Abbott and Costello, like all the crossovers. Frankenstein and the Wolfman. I actually enjoy the Wolfman too. I think my next list will be top 10 werewolves. But personally, this is my top 10 or top 11 Frankensteins. If you disagree with this list, there's nothing wrong with that. If you think there was someone who should have been added to this list, put it down there. There's a lot of other hokey movies that I've really enjoyed that had Frankenstein. These are just the ones I think portrayed him as an interesting or idyllic character. I definitely like there's some Japanese movie where, like, I want to say Dr. Frankenstein creates an army of dinosaurs and monsters, and it's insane. Frankenstein Conquers the World, which is a giant Frankenstein versus a monster, which is awesome, by the way. It's just wonderful. It's kind of a funny movie. You gotta check it out. Check those out. I mean, this is a monster that is like the monster. I think of Frankenstein is possibly one of the greatest monsters of all time. I mean, he is like the idyllic one. So yeah, this is J-Road, licensed by Jacket Radio, signing off.